A native of Clady, Neal Lafferty was born on January the 8th, 1923, and was the third son of Michael and Bridget Catherine Lafferty. He had 5 brothers, Eddie, John, Mac, Hugo and Colm, and one sister, Pauline. The family could trace its roots in the Clady, Dunniloop area back several generations. Neal attended Clady School until the age of 14 before leaving for Scotland, like many of his friends and neighbours, to do seasonal work on farms in Strathclyde. In 1942, at the age of 19, Neal was interned by the then Stormont government following an attack known as the Clady Ambush, in which 2 RUC men were killed. The incident occurred at the bottom of Clady Street on September the 5th, 1942, as a reprisal for the hanging of Tom Williams in Belfast 3 days earlier. Neal was held in Crumlin Road prison for around 2.5 years. His brother John, along with Jim Lafferty, Francie Hunter, Johnny Hunter and leithéid Lennon, escaped from the ambush and went on the run, settling in Donegal in America. Some years after his release, Neal met Bridie Quinn from Leckford-Drum, Plumbridge, and they got married on November 22nd, 1955. They would have 7 children in total, 6 sons and 1 daughter, Jared, Joe, John, Kay, Martin, Paul and Kieran. Sadly, Kieran died at the age of 9. For many years, Neal ran a taxi and minibus business, and locally he is noted to have been the first person in Clady to own a car. Neal was active again in the 1957-62 campaign, and when the struggle resumed in the late 1960s and early 70s, he did not hesitate to report back for active service with the Clady unit of the West Tyrone Brigade, Óglaigh na hÉireann. From 1970 onwards, he effectively lived on the run in Donegal, though he still came home almost daily to bring his children to school. On 2 occasions, however, he was arrested and interned, first in Crumlin Road Prison and later in Longkesh. Donegal was by no means safe. Neal had a lucky escape when British forces opened fire with automatic gunfire, riddling a caravan that he and other volunteers used for shelter. Fortunately, nobody was inside at the time. On December 15, 1973, Neal was wounded while on the same operation that claimed the life of volunteer Jim McGinley when a bomb exploded prematurely on Clady Bridge. Neal's health was a concern for his family and friends. He was diabetic, suffered from asthma and had a weak heart. During his second period of internment in Longkesh, doctors concluded he had only months to live. He was released on medical grounds in October 1974. 6 months later, he died at the age of 52 in Altnagavin Hospital. 4 of Neal's sons, John, Joe, Paul and Martin, were Republican prisoners of war during the 1980s and 1990s. Neal was a great ambassador for the Republican cause and inspired many in the younger generation with his determination and resolve to see his country free. His friend and comrade Liam McElhinney delivered the graveside oration and spoke with the respect Neal commanded both within and outside the movement. He was a steadfast Republican soldier as well as a proud and loving husband and father. As his funeral procession crossed the border on its way to Dunniloop, hundreds of Gardaí moved in on the mourners in a blatant attempt at intimidation. Despite this, the cortege continued to the graveyard where Neal's remains were laid to rest in the family plot.
Just knowing him and looking at him, it's just committed. No way. Just that commitment just was there, like. Then when you got the broader picture of his term at 19 and then going through over so many decades.
I'm proud of the fact that he what he done, that he believed in, but he still kept that side that he was 100% father. Father would have come first. He would have done anything, for his family.
We come to family days. Sunday was always a day, like a family day when I was down here. And when I went to Bundoran, Rosnella and Buncrana, and all them places, when you're younger, I used to go down the car, the 6 or 7 of us went down, and we all went away days like that. And then it took us to, when it come to summer holidays while we were in Clady, we went to the Moore's area up at the Lake for Drum, up there for a day, and we were slagged, went through past the TV mast and was slagging and all. We were slagging the Indians up here and all. He said, it was probably slagging my mother. The Indians are attacking us here now, and we're the cowboys and stuff.
He would have done anything for a laugh, for a cod, He was strict, but he seen the fun side of it too. Like.
I reckon he loved taking a hand of people, winding them up, telling them 100 lies. One went down the street, like he told her 100 lies. This boy was dead and that boy was dead, and she went looking for taxis to go to the wake. I'm laughing away, nothing about it. Like.
He was up one time and Mary Hamilton had a scone, no name day, she put the scone out in the windowsill to cool, they were probably waiting on it. He went up and stole the scone. Mary go mad looking for the scone everywhere.
We went to school one time, right? And there's a priest at the school. So the priest sat here, so we done a semicircle here. And the topic was, what does your parents work at? They come round to me, the priest said, what's your father do? I says, he's a nice kid in champion. This is right. Proud response. So at home that day, and the boys in the living room, I think 2 or 3 boys in the house room, like. They says, how you going to school today? I said, the priest had a small semicircle, and there's actually, he's all done and all, but when you see, I said, tell him that you've been a nice kid, champion. What are you telling that for? I said, you told me. The boys both out laughing.
He used to learn all the ways to curse and everything. Whenever they went into the house cursing, then they got a whole hiding flick.
My father had a minibus, my mother drove it. They had a checkpoint on top of Clady Bridge, and they searched the bus. And he owned the bus. Put my mother all out of the bus. You're right, checkpoint, they were searching her. It just done like any other fire would do, going runs and stuff like that. Then it was across the border for a while. He had to come across, and we got us up for school. Everybody's up out of bed for school and washed and changed and got to breakfast and all the way to school, and then they probably went across the border again. Then he done what the man could do, like 6 or 7 weigh-ins, fighting the war at the same time, like.
Obviously the old boy was a hackney driver, taxi driver, so obviously he went outside, he was always stuck on the bottom of the car. But when you would have said to the man, no, can I go along with you? I'm on ahead. At that time the cars were like the big Zephyr cars, the Zonex, the big front seat, and the gear stick up here. Then you'd have got touring about, but most times went out, like, and there's times that stopped places you knew, well, he's not stopping there to do a pee, like.
Taxi firm was just known for they didn't be a sizeman, a man bus.
I might ask him, could I go along with him in the car up to Belfast with one of the ones was going to the hospital. I just stared at him, go up and down, thinking that's my dad there.
That was always wrong with them because there was cars, my cars. I rode them, I said, run there, and we were on like. But that I used to do the car all the time, and he took me to the car like, and then he took me to meetings, and I went to such for fucking 2 years, waiting on him while I
made one time lying in the bedroom, and I said, Dad, you have chewing gum stuck in your back. Where? I said, up there. He just pulled that straight like that. It was a fucking word. And I made loose words. I let me up in it, it's not a fucking word. I was chewing gum.
We didn't miss out on any thing for by him not being there or being interned or whatever. But as for love or protection and whatever, like my dad was still there. We didn't really want for nothing, so we didn't.
Obviously he made big sacrifices. Like for a man to leave his family and go for living in a caravan, to back at Clady Bridge, like. I still didn't deter him. He still went ahead and done his business, his beliefs. He was happy enough doing that. No one faced him. Like, as I say, it was like going to work with them boys. They hear the patrol coming. They're away like a shot. 4 or 5 of them, whatever, in the back of the cars to say that the Russian hat went on. That was it. They'd have been rattling for a bit later. No problem to them. Probably I would have cleared then, they'd come back an hour later. As if nothing happened. And laughing away to themselves, smiling away. No, at that time Clady was more or less no aware of it. You know, so they were doing something right. To me, he was my hero, like. When I seen what he went through, I didn't think it too fair, like. The way it was treated. Like, pulled out his fucking bed and pissed on him and searching.
I mean, we were taking out arrest him one morning. He was my like though. My heart like a whole heart all the time. Sitting in his chair so. Some certain parts of him. God.
We're over in 32, over where he lives now, and they come there as the Brits. They had the whole Clady blocked off the whole Clady. School buses weren't getting in, nobody was getting out. They had the whole place just covered off. They searched, I think they made a search every house in Clady, sir. They come over to Clady Gardens, and Dalboy at this stage couldn't get out of the area, so he lay in his bed with a suspect heart attack. And they come to the house, once they come to the house, then things eased up. And they fucking down the stairs. He was looking for a doctor. And they fucked him down the stairs, and the multi-sergeant come, one of the Red Cross on her. And they were pulling him out in the stretcher, and you know, a bit of a scuffle at the front door. The soldier got hit by a cup case through a cup of a soldier. And
He's coming at the top of the stairs and the boy hit him with a butt of a gun, the back of the knee. He landed at my feet at the bottom of the stairs. But they took him on out then on the stretcher, and he was looking for a glass of water. So I took him out a cup of water. And he took a drink of the water, and I just come off the soldier with a cup.
we were younger, thought we were fucking maybe fighting them, but we weren't. They were standing there. And took him away in the sergeant, but there's an army camp inside at that time. Took him over there. So they still didn't know if he had a heart attack or not. Took him over there and went, took him out and put him in the stretcher and set him out in the footpath, and he asked the soldier for a drink of water. The soldier, I'll give you a drink of water. And he climbed up on top of the sergeant and pushed down top of him in the seat. So that's where the hurt and the hatred would come out now at this stage.
Never forget things like that. I mean, you wouldn't push a dog, like, you know.
I mean, I think Joe and Heffer had signed up or something. The old doll hanging around his ankles, pleading with him not to throw them out. Oh, he was going to kill them.
Going by his own, recollection at him or doing, he didn't want his family getting involved in nothing, like, that's the way it was, you know. There's one time something happened and blah blah, and next thing it was upstairs. Right, sign that, sign that, sign that. That's it, gone. He's gone.
I was sitting at home in the house, what the fuck? I keep coming upstairs now, roaring like fuck. I said, come on here now.
Joe says he may come on here too. Oh jeez.
Tell me lad, you get too involved now. Good man, Reese. That's a minute. Days. So he's fucking.
He wouldn't have wanted that life for them.
I think the severity really set on was the night we were on with our arms, Jobby McGinley's thing.
We're on the caravan sitting, and we're chatting away, and Jim McGinley with a flag on my arm with an orange marker. And we come back to the house, we heard the explosion. We were put behind the wall again under the table. But maybe it was mind working over matter, but I might load up my arm and see Jim's face.
Me and Damien Hunter was playing cards in Joe Malloy's house, and they heard the boom, and me and him bolted. I swore I thought it was the smugglers now, and we done in Clady State, and this fucking haze was meeting us, just dust and debris, you know. I come on the scene at the bridge, and all was there was that from here down, a green sock on one of the feet, and nothing else. And he wore green socks. And I fucking panicked. I run then. That time he was living in a caravan up at Castlefin Road. A wee two-berth job, you know, up above Kirks there. And I ran up there, and the light was on, I battered the windows, couldn't get in, nobody in the caravan. And I come running down again. That time there was guards and all on the scene then, like, and they were about with fucking body bags and or picking up things, this and that and on. I didn't know the next day then that he'd been walking behind Jim McGinley, and he blew up. But he made his way down the bank, and I don't know how he done it. And made his way down to Lafferty, his sister's Pauline's in Lafferty. And she took him in and looked after him in, and
It wasn't maybe till I said the next day, or could have been a day or two after, maybe more was over, like, and you seen the bits that happened, and probably with the fact that happened to Jim and the rest of them, you knew then, like, it is serious, like.
they found Niall Mosher, I think, into the river the same night. And I went, when the water was a bit lower, I went in and got her then, took it away. I mind then at Mass then, and that Sunday in Downloop. First time I seen him crying. The priest prayed for Jim again. He was standing with tears coming down his cheeks. We were standing beside him, like, in the chapel, you know. But that fear was always on, you know. That either somebody's going to get him something down the line somewhere, you know what I mean? That aspect that would cross your mind all the time, like, is this man going to come back in a body bag, or is it going to be knock at the door and saying, your father's blew up, or he's been shot, or this, that, and that. What was that fear like? I one time when we were living in New Street years ago, the lights were all off in Clady Street, we had a knock at the door or someone, Neal! Shouting, Neal! But he didn't go near the window, like. So I think that night that was, whoever was down below was going to fucking cement him to come to the window at all, like. That was it. I'm surprised that they didn't bust in the door, to tell you the truth. But then maybe the back room, like, facing the glade there, under the mattress, there was a rack of arms on it. So it'd been interesting for them to come on the door now.
They put a caravan outside our house too, over New Street. We were all young too, we were all bits of age, there were 7 of us. I don't think there's any warning about it, I'm not too sure they weren't up, but the caravan parked up, so they weren't going to, they weren't worrying too much about the winds.
It was just then when you were told to watch in case you left the bin if there's any wires sticking out, or if you see a car, watch passing it, and just things then.
We probably hadn't much sense, we were all growing up. It was probably, if they would have a caravan for one man, it was a bit reckless to kill the whole family, but what did they think then? Like, what did the Brits think when they're doing the things they done? To anybody's father, that we're going to sit back and fucking grow up and go to school and just get on with our lives? Not a hope.
Whenever you got to a certain age, every time you went out, you were feared in case they didn't come back. Or if you knew the army was about, with dogs barking or bins banging, and if he was out, you were feared that they wouldn't have come back, you know.
You grew up when you hear some of the stories then, know what I mean? When you're young and you get older and they were happening to yourself then. These were happening to all our family, all through the years. And if it just went on, they just whacked to the fucking top of us.
One occasion, we were living in New Street at the time, and there was shipping from the Crowhan Hill. There was a big Salden car sitting outside in the front of New Street there years ago, and then you may have seen that picture of Paul, the CJ Clady, 2 bullets went in the top window of our house. One went in through a wardrobe door, and the other one stuck in the frame of the door. We were lying down on the ground, but you know the noise, like, the shooting, like.
The window came on around us, and there was one in bed in the wardrobe. And the carnival called me out, took a photograph of me after the photograph there. Like.
We were over number 6 at the time of the shooting, and mine with a table in the living room, and my mother, the father was away obviously at this stage, and I mean the shooting started, and my mother's out, everybody on the table, and we're all under the table, hiding under the table in the living room, and the shooting was, you just heard the shooting, it was just steady shooting, and I didn't realise they came through the top under our bedroom, up on the hot press of the house.
For safety ways, you could down below and right below the table that time. But then with the crash of the glass upstairs, that put the tin hat on, then you really stayed down then, like. You'd been sitting in the house here days and you heard the buying, them testing stuff over at the brickfield. Everybody knew the brickfield in Clady, like. And just went about like a normal day life, like. There was no, as I'm saying, nobody come into Clady at the time, no police or anything, so they had that freedom, you know. In fields up behind these houses here now, I'm living in now. They've been testing stuff, buying one half, people ain't paid no heat.
They living out the back, him and a few other boys. They were testing windscreens to see what it would take to stab a bullet.
I mean, shooting an old thing out number 6 up at the field. There was an old fucking target thing up at the back field. And we were all like taking turns at it. And I don't know if it was, I thought it was prospect glass or something. It was some kind of fucking thing anyway. But you mean, aiming up at that. See who got at it. Well, I mean, summer's day and I was out shooting away.
The only thing I really mind pre-moving from New Street to Clady Gardens was raids, like.
The money operations, they were that's right. You were living in that house. They got, you know. So there were no that was the main base of operations base. Like New Street, like. There were no clandestine fucking meetings about it.
You'd have been there at night and you would have, there might have been 4 or 5 of them in the living room. You knew, but you were then put out of the road while they were having that conversation. You know, you weren't in the kitchen listening or nothing like that. That part you would have been kept away from.
But there was no go area one time. I mean, there was no police or army commanded, like. And so, the boys were able to float about openly. There was no worries, like.
I don't mind coming back from school and Kiwi cans sitting in the hallway with the rifles and the boys were sitting in the room with their line open. Us running in and out, getting time with it, running back out and out the street to play out in the street and back in, nothing was locked up. Like here and the boys carried their shorts with them wherever they wanted and it was just every day. I don't mean it was one day a week, it was every day. Once the word come that the Brits were in Clady, the boys they had the cross, spoke to them at the far side and gave them the works. Every day was the same. Never stopped.
I mean, one time they were they painted the valley. One time they painted up writing pros, this and that and all. And they went and then they gave it a water in Clady State. It was a Vera L Army. People thought, who the fuck's this Vera? It was Army. But it was a very extreme Republican area. The Brits wrote it themselves, warning all their battalions coming in, what they expect, you know.
Same was wrong, but it wasn't like there's times with the balaclavas and stuff. They stuck the berry on them and away they went. That was their marned and their weapon and their berry on the way they went. No balaclavas, nothing like that, sir. And we were whacked past them again. It was just different as the years went on, you know what I mean?
It was the case that the word would have come, maybe the army was coming out the road or the police years ago. Next thing, it went into the car, boom, over the bridge to get themselves set up, and the next thing then, boom, 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 before you'd hear then just.
I seen the black hat going on, the Russian hat. They had a call for other boys, the way they went. That was you time to get your head down. I could have been banging for an hour, like. No bother them.
See, at that time, it was just, there was always something happening. It was just fucking constant, like.
No, I was determined now, that's one thing about him, you know, is as they all say about years ago, but the OCs never went out along with their men. They stayed behind, you know. Any operation he was on, he went along with them. It made no difference, you know.
The thing that I respected most about Leader was he never asked a volunteer to be involved in anything that he wasn't prepared to do himself. Anything about here is like you take when the company blew up at the foot of the bridge there. Like, you know, he was that morning. He was to the forefront there, you know. And even like a God rest Billy Flanagan, you got out with shotgun, like, you know. Things that, but the minister say anything like Neil was always prepared to be there Whenever it was at that there, the boys got weapons out that morning, that but they wouldn't have been heavy caliber weapons lighting up, but they were prepared to put up a stand back then. And nobody knows how difficult it was at the start. Like, we had more volunteers, we wouldn't have had a rifle for every volunteer. But it was amazing how that got built up through the times that the stuff did start to come in. Like, we had them wee man caravans out 303s and things. You know, they'll shot you dynamite and all. Sure, and Old Thompson back then was a prize thing, and Old Thompson's and sure.
When they did land anywhere, he was there in the front. And he seemed to be involved in every operation, and even outside the Clady area.
It a good tight unit that time now, definitely. Very tight. Wherever they went, he went. He didn't send them out on his own, like, and sit back in the house, like, you know.
Very few he was, but he was always willing, like, if there'd been things going on, like if he could have slipped out, they'd be a part of it, like, you know. You know, there's that's one thing about him, like, he was never want to shy away. He never want to say, he's going there. He never really would have ordered you. He would have had the authority to do it, you know. But no, he always dealt with it was to fight up who'd be the best man, or who knows the area to go to and all of that.
You seen who was there, no men, and you couldn't fault any of them, like, no men. I think it's like Liam said at the oration at the funeral, like, he says Clady unit was second in London. Was stood out. From what you seen coming to the house, and then lads that had died in the past. No, it was a broader West Tyrone circle, like, and he was well respected.
Everybody around here, he was a man known. If you wanted to be involved with a armed struggle, he was the man you went to. Nobody else, like. But I found out later when I was in prison, I met Dathy O'Connell. Dathy was high up, like, but way down behind all of that there. And I'm Dathy saying to me himself, he says, the very start, he says, the only contact we had in Clady was with Neal Lafferty. He says, that roads were made there, you know. And that's how stuff got tricking through Clady, you go to further field, like. Whenever you get like that, Dathy was in Ballyshannon at that time, you know, the right started the early 69, 70s. You see, he remembered from Neal, they have the records from the 40s and all down. That's because that government's in the 50s, but the 50s campaign. And they must have made contact with him. That's how like, the unit was formed in Clady long before Stavan. Stavan, they were all still with the sticks as they were known. There were some boys about here, even Dugdale. She was actually over in an ambush, you know, in Hibbleton's Corner. There were a whole crew of them. They were waiting to stop there in an army thing along there, and they were going to ambush it, but it never materialised. The Brits didn't oblige. See, the local lads were like a Duffy and a Neal and them boys, they were just swore by it, like, you know. Fixing boys up for jobs like that there. You to get license like that, you know. A year were wanting to go in that and all that there, like. And he wasn't, you hear criticised about armchair generals, but he definitely was no armchair general, like, you know.
They believed in what they were doing, I know, and that's the only thing I can think about, you know. That area would have been covered, you know, a High Iron, Castle Lairg, Say Mulls, Balmagray, Stavan, Clady, Castlefun, Lifford. You know, that big area, you know.
We're going to go up as far as Crana, down to Doneymana. I remember one other night, where the boys from Castle Lairg, they not a bother in Pettigo. And they got in touch, it must be a house phone or something. And he landed over us and we headed up and Pettigo was through. But I remember that night, anyway, we had the poor out pipes. And somebody, they put, instead of petrol, they put the wrong fucking fuel in and we ran out. And we had to take the hills and look, you know, the thing that saved us all. A massive fog, and we were up in them hills, so we lay all night till about fucking 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and we whacked. There was somebody pitch picked us up there.
I heard a story one time about at Arnie Road. If you ever come up towards the flush down there, there's a like a plantation of green trees on the right hand side there. If you're coming out from Staban this way, you know. And they had them a lot of time for me, you see. And they fired back one time and my dad had a Thompson in his hand and hit the butt of the fucking gun.
I remember God in mercy the day poor Jim McGinley, who's no longer with us, he was caught involved in the Melmond Road. And he said there were no mobile, no way of phones like that there. And he landed in the car and I was the bookie shop. We had to get as many volunteers because the Brits were kind of battle going on. But I can remember and he never been a man for a bookie shop, like, you know, he had on there waiting me out.
There's one other day we're down in front of Kirk's Bar, and the Brits were just there, and they only went up around the pump corner, I'd say. They weren't even so at the Kirk's house. Next thing I looked around, the fucking posse the boys landed in. And they were just at the community centre, and the rifles all cocked, but they'd just been round the corner, and they fucking handed the state. That's the cooking a fucking hand on there.
The guardian angels were a lot of times, there's some of that dodgy jail I was telling you about, like, I mean, the guardian angels with them, that stuff could have went in any.
Another thing I remember was there had been a few boys in the house, and obviously they planted something somewhere. The other boy looked at his watch, he looked at the other boy and went, and you heard the bang and the rest was down that tea like, to the very last second.
While later, there were another fucking battle. He went on for 15 minutes, but they reckon it was out by his own. Eh?
When he was on and up diving, when he left the scene, he was fucking flying. So I seen me jump, a car still going, me jumping out twice. And I would have not fathered just dive slowly, bring no attention to yourself, but that wasn't on. She was fucking zooming, sir.
Then the other one was Donegalip side, must have been the hill, and the fair car was parked at the Cut Park. And whoever it was, fucking nailed your man here. But the fair car can no race to the car, there's no coal shit there, and she came flying over to it, she just went straight through it, didn't go around it, straight fucking through it. And I think they were up as far as the top of the street and stopped, and that's the ambulance and all landed and got your man out. And that's some big for the long distance, like.
I made him the caravan, Castle Fun Road, and we got a day about every weekend.
I was parked over at down below Kirk's, used to be shades there. The Irish Army used to be there after. The caravan was facing long ways. You used to go in round, step up under. And the pilot boy stayed about her. But it was his own caravan. He bought it himself out of his own money, his own caravan. And everybody called it an IRA caravan, but it was his. And the Brits come in one day, opened up from a Fred car to the bottom of the estate and give her the full hog now. There's this emperor. I think the boys might get out of her. I was out behind the wild under, and my mother had my father's coat. The bullet holes was through the coach that was hanging up in the wardrobes. And she had a 50p note, and the bullet hole was clean through it. And everything was smashed, the cups and the whole lot was all smashed in it. And an uncle of mine came over with a handkerchief. He said, there's some of the bullets there hooked out of the wall. I gave them to my fella. So it was the Brits were firing across, just opened up and just had no warning, just give it a hog like and riddled the fucking place.
I mean that day as well, hey, that there was a ferret car outside Kirk's Bar, the boy with the turret on her, and he just pressed the button, he stayed on her. He riddled that caravan through his shite. Back of the bridge. The chance was over that day. There's fucking suits and everything cutting shite with bullets. He just left like a tea bag, hey. So it did.
No, we were out in an operate earlier that morning, like firing, you know. And then we all come back in from the Dunny Hoop, like they were cutting off the left boys. They left boys. Them boys went back to their base. And we were going under the caravan door, the fucking boy, the blast of fucking all over the fucking place. I mean, pipes wee car, it was shot up.
His car drove onto the car park that same day, and the photograph in the paper years ago that the headlight was shot out of the car and all. You know, didn't hit him like, but hit the front of the car like. She was more or less adjacent to the car park, to the caravan, you know.
And we're lucky enough that after fucking early shots had been spot on midnight, we got onto the old shade, no old shades beside the houses there. We were all on there. And then the boys got locked stuff and bashed and started the fire back. That was for a couple of hours, because then we got slapped up onto the fucking Chief's pub and they were travellers there, southern boys. They were reporting the RT and all, like, they were saying, what the situation is going on here, like. That was some new experience for them, because the boys were still fucking blasting. And we got fed up, we had fucking hardly nothing to let the fire back in, so we were up in the fucking pub and the boys were still. the boy in charge that day told me, he says, you know, he was wondering, they're bound to be dead. The boys said, we have no reports of dead. He says, we sent 3,000 fucking rounds across there. Some of them must be hit, you know. See the gas under, it was hit, but it never exploded. But you see we had a wee money box on the side for like a bottom. You seen the fucking pound notes were fucking split in fucking 2 coins damaged. Hey, that's true, sir.
Nobody had to go put that caravan, the whole lot, we got to work.
They got him one time in a furniture lorry pulled up. He didn't fake. The lorry was 4 bits. They punched the house with a big one.
Like a big furniture van came up, big wine van, and it just opened the doors and it just flew out. That was the old boy away. Well, mine one day then, wherever he was going one day, he says to me, there was nobody in the house, only me. He says, come here, sit you there at that window and put you that down your breast and put you them in your pocket. And if you see anything like a wee van, big van, lorry or whatever, he says, you know the score. Run you like fuck and don't stop. He says, and if I come back and you're not here, you stay there and I'll get you somewhere. So that was the shot and the bullets. But thank Jesus no one came.
Mine stand one time, I was 20 gardens, and as that age I was all fucking crying away, and I was lying back in the bricks on the room and all, and Heffer was hanging across and all. So I don't know if Heffer knew he was bluffing or he was just playing along.
When he was being lifted, and he would have been saying, phone the doctor, Brady. And he would have just says to you, okay, you make sure your mother and the rest of them boys is alright.
Then the health was wasn't getting any better now, and they held the tribunal on him, and they put him out of the room like. They told him, well, they didn't tell him like, it told the doctors, the physicians, what it was. He's 7 months to live. That's why he got released. He was dead in 6. And Robbie Husson, I was overnight in my mother's house. My dad left the case. Robbie got his bed. Robbie was on too at that time, turned. Pat Fahey is dead now, John's brother. Brought him home in the car, hey, and we're in 32 Clady Gardens at the time, and you know, you're watching TV, blah blah, and not come to the door. Pat Fahey says, "Have a present here for you." Everybody get rid of the car, sir.
The main snack come down the stairs. That's the right way to go. You're wearing the white fronts and white vest, like. And the two are sitting on the stairs in Clady Gardens, thinking, can we see him, can we see him? And he called us down, and we sat on his knee, and he says, right boys, come to your bed now, like. I sees all the world.
I nearly think I was at the top of the stairs.
I just thought he got out of jail. We didn't know for how long. We didn't know how long as we get out for if he did to die or out there, just getting out.
I know when he did get out, see after everybody got out then, I don't know if he knew what his end was going to be. But he was away in, fucking cutting sticks and stuff like that there, and he seemed to be working where I think he was trying to get a few pound on, no mean stuff like that. But we wouldn't have knew at that time, like.
Then he was released today. But he's okay, he was shook. You know he's while he seat. You know he was somewhere else. It's not button. It's well quiet and stuff. It isn't more not more after stuff. You know, we're closer to us.
You're down home from jail, you know. Sorry. Home today, Francis. How else should we be bothered on it was that thing?
It was a community, man. He run anything for the community.
I got a knock at the door 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He got up in his bed and away in the car. help somebody out, you know. People in hospitals, somebody sick. I was famous for that, all, you know.
Anybody would have knocked the door. Any problem at all. You know, that sort of way.
When I started taxing in 1989, they were saying to me, I remember your father done my wedding. Everybody got in the care, different ones had done weddings. And people like, pay you later, Neil, no problem at all. Like, I'm just going by his thing, you know, if you can't do anybody a good turn, don't do one at all. Like.
And you probably didn't realise how much he was respected even outside that community. You know, if anybody needed a car or go to the hospital or whatever, get Neil. It was obvious Neil. I would have been well respected, and anybody would have come and said anything to him or asked him for anything. You know, they knew he was approachable and he would have sorted it out one way or another.
There was nothing ever happened with Clady. The community was being protected, and the people, as I'm saying, they left their doors open. There was no anybody breaking into houses or no rascality or vandals or nothing like that. That's the way it was like.
Clady was just Clady. Everybody knew everybody. You know what I mean? You just turned the key in everybody's house and whacked on in. And if there was a checkpoint somewhere, somebody would have called in and says, hey, somebody would have passed the wire on, like, and let you know where they were, or say the cows was out in the field. You know, that sort of way. But I'd say everybody looked out for everybody in Clady.
My mother was young. She was just 100% too, you know what I mean? And she was wearing 7 wains, still looking after the outfit at the same time, and her head was in the right place. And as they're saying is, you know, every successful man, there's a successful woman behind her. And I've said helped me out for it too, because my mother was 100%. She was sound, trustworthy, and everything like.
Sound bell she was, you know, she knew what's going on, like. She would have, as they say, kept it to herself, you know, what kind of way, you know.
I'll say she was as stunt as what he was, to be honest.
They come one morning, took her to Castlereagh, and they kept her 7 days in Castlereagh, questioned her for 7 days in Castlereagh. 2 of the brothers was arrested the same morning, Joe and Paul. And the solicitor, good friend of mine too, John Fight, turned around and says when he seen her walking out the door, it was as good as seeing 10 men walking out. She done what she had to do and looked after everything when the old boy was in the bathroom, 100%.
Well, I suppose she kept things ticking over. That was just everyday life, get on with, and that was it, and she would have took over the taxi runs and just more or less run the house.
The times that I've seen her feared, and but not wild bad. A man and night were coming over, we're in Clady here, and our woman, Mr. McGohan, had to be left home, and my father told my mother to take her home, take the 2 boys along with her run. I think it was me and Heffer went along with her. She lived in the Glebe or something, but when she got as far as the Glebe, the soldiers stopped us and arrested. They said they come across stuff in the bit of the car, which is, nobody was charged, so it had to be lies. They took us into an army camp, I'm saying, and kept us there. And I was young. I was to primary school then, wherever his that was.
To me, looking back, she was a strong enough woman, and she done the runs and kept things ticking over.
It was a hard battle, like, for it. It was tight going, like, but we got through it, like.
She seemed to be taking her stride, and it's surprisingly, like, because it's not that she come from any background, like, she come from like for drum. She was only a daughter of a farming family, no mean. They're probably thinking she'll marry a farmer across the road, like, and she ended up in Clady this way.
Up around that area, wouldn't have knew half of it. There would have been no activity or no. I stayed in for a couple of years, and you might have seen a Ford Poplar car coming from Plumbridge Barracks to Staban once a month. I mean, up the road. There was no armoured cars, there was no camps, there was no. So up that part of the country didn't have the same as down here. So it's for her to come from that part of the country to come into the heart of Clady, to come into all this, that they wouldn't have seen up in that part of the country, even though it was only 9 or 10 miles away. It shows you. So she grew up and she married here. She was 19 when she married that fella, and she just grew up in the heart of all this troubles, and she was involved in it. She would have helped. She had never seen nobody stuck. She was 100%. Brilliant. As John Fay says, as good as 10 men. Unbelievable. Like.
As she says, like, Neil was the bee's knees then. And she was the lucky girl that got him. Big, tall, good looking man, like.
But hey, she was a backbone then, they ended up like no win. Young woman like that, 39, granddad died. And we didn't make it easier for her, didn't it?
It was hard for my man, like, and boys in jail, and 6 boys and a girl, like, I mean, she's 39 years of age then, like, a young woman, like. The family was kind of ripped apart that time, you know, not being in a bad way, like, but boys in jail and an old fella there, and my mother's going up and putting up these food parcels. No. And as I'm saying, times were hard, like, but as you see yourself, she got through it, you know. Boys done their time and got out again, thank God, and all alive and doing well. Never must have visited, hey. Parcels went up steady, you know, it cost money to send parcels up years ago, like, you know.
With the blocks, see, we were down to 1 visit a month. And to me, you're given that space too, you know what I mean? But if you got somebody up 1 month, it's going to be fucking 6 months before you see somebody again. But to me, it would give her that break, you know what I mean? Because she was fucking running steady, like. It was starting to get the parcels in, like, and it was always there, like.
The mother must. She'd come up to the jail, she probably had it hard then, she probably wouldn't have had a pile of money. And she had 4 sons at the one time, and she was buying them a parcel. She bought a parcel for each one of us. I was in A-Wing on the Common Road, brother Paul was in C-Wing, Joe was in the cages, and John was on the blanket. And she come and visited 2 us in the morning and 2 in the evening. There was a full day of visiting when you come that far up to Belfast. And she had to buy clothes and parcels for us 4. And she wasn't working or nothing. So she've got it tight enough, but never must. Always visitors, we always got our stuff up, but we needed, and we never didn't want. Looked after us up all the time in jail, all the time before it, and all the time after. Up until she died, 100%.
I think too what helped her, she was like light-hearted and she was strong-minded. I think that's what kept her taking over.
Wee brother Kieran then, my dad died in 75, Kieran died, my dad died in September 76, and my brother died then in November 76. So my mother lost a husband, a father and a son, a year and a half. You know. We visited Kieran, he went from Galvin to Royal. Well, up different shifts, different nights, just to sit, lay out in the car back, and then whoever shift to come out and go back in again. And there's always one thing that sticks back in my mind, hey, I'll always be there. And I'd seen him one night, he says, go and take me home. And I couldn't take him home, like. And then the night was unseen him, and the room was still unconscious this time, and I couldn't see no movement of the stomach, you know. I called for a nurse to come on quick, and they put us out. He died then, like. It was... Aye, civil being, like, 9.5 years of age. You always wondered how they ended up, like. Would they been married? Would they been in jail? Would they been doing something? Like, you never know these things, you know. Never know. It's like a big scent, that's what it was.
Fucking, it was a bad time for Nick to win. You're just getting used to fucking space missing out of the house, then you lost, well, your father, and hey, the mainly then Kieran, like, wouldn't have been fucking been tighter, like.
I mean, in the morning when I went on lunch, I said, couldn't hear things. And I took a wee medal on his coat. And my Rosie language is dead now. He said, Neil, see you later on. I'll be back, he says. Well, he knew himself, you know.
We were down Friday, everybody sitting up, bright as rain. And I said to Ma, I says, if you're not in my clothes now, he says, I didn't know you were getting out. But they knew he wasn't getting out. She said, they said something about their trying to get his diabetes under control. And I think it was the next day.
In the morning, he took bad then, it was I must say this because the big Jerry Curry, he took my man, Kay, down got the word in, they would come down quickly on the game, but I knew there something wasn't right. So I didn't go down. And when he went down, he was already dead, you know.
Something taking the dinner, wasn't it, in the bed, or just finished the dinner and the boy across the bed, is it?
It was Una came up in a Lafferty, and she says she got a phone call that Neil took a turn and for us to go down. That sister says to us in the hospital, like a man come from Belfast, doctor come from Belfast to tell yous. I said, nobody tell us anything because my ma wasn't there.
The doctor come to chat to the dog, but she wasn't there.
Big tall man, but I think there was only me and maybe Paul or some of them in the house. He had actually come from Belfast to tell us my dad's health only had about 6-7 months to live. But he wouldn't tell me because I wasn't an adult in the house. So therefore we didn't know.
And I got the knock at the door, Uncle Hugo come up and I opened the door and he shook his head and I said, you stayed away then. I don't know what maybe do. I went upstairs and I got his berry, hey. I started crying. There was like berry upstairs. But then you're only youngster at the time, like, you know, it's one wee ball game then, like. The mother, 6 weans, left no father in the house. It was tight now. But thank God we survived it.
I was in Drum. I was up by my grandparents up on stayed with them on a farm, and the word came up with the, don't know who sent the word up. My father was dead, and I went down the road in the bicycle or something and come back up to the house then, and I got down in the wick at night. My grandparents brought me into the wick. We stayed down in the wick for a while, and I came down there the morning of the funeral. Down through Clady and the crowd there, and I never seen no police or soldiers or nothing like that. And when we got over the far side of the Dunlip there, across the border, there's a lot of guards. The guards are all around the walls and stuff, trying to intimidate people.
We come over to the music of a fish it. Once at the sit, finally broke.
Just going on to the graveyard. The two worst things to me is bringing the coffin in and taking the coffin out and putting them on the ground. I could not look at that. Well, I know I was not out of hysterics like at the time. But ones were saying about the colour party and that's a blank to me.
Even yet, they were crossing my mind. You think away about him, like you should have there. I'm proud of him, what I done. I'd say a lot of respect for what he done and the person that he was. Like if any else boys could be half the man he was, we would die happy men. You know, his values, like, live long and ever him. And his principles. He stuck by them. At any cost, like.
He definitely wouldn't be with MLAs and strongmen anyway. I can rest assured of that. There's no doubt about that. Like, he's like, that's why he has much to his mind. Get them brats out of here. You know, the brats out, no such thing. The same as why we Joe Clark was thought for a 32 county, and that's that.
There wasn't much any politics, you know. I think it was more a mountain man who was politics, you know. I don't think it would he'd agree with them beating Charles and all this crack, you know, Sinn Féin and all that shit, you know.
They look fucking reckless. They would go fucking haywire. And I just thought it was going back to Collins again. To go over to a Monarch's funeral was a big disappointment, but to go over to King Charles's, that was the head of the parachute regiment, when they done Bloody Sunday and Ballymurphy, you know what I mean? Fucking short memories.
It'd be disgraced. It'd be disgraced for some reason else. All them years that the struggle, I was involved in the struggle up all them years, and he always kept telling my mother, have nothing to do with Sinn Féin. And this is back from, he was interred in 1942, up before he died, have none, because we were all Sinn Féin. And my mother used to say to us steady, your father always says, have nothing to do with Sinn Féin. And he was right. To get Sinn Féin were there, the IRA had to fight this war, and he'd be turning in his grave today, knowing that he was right. What Sinn Féin has done to this country. And disowned the Republicans and put them where they were.
How right he was, like. The way they shit on the whole place. You know, his beliefs the same as many volunteers. They want that 33-county republic, like. When he was in Stratford.
They were against the establishment for years. They were party at night. Like. People that's actually had fucking members maybe shot dead with SSA squads or an active service. I think that should be a big wake up call for anybody. Like, you know what I mean?
That's what we're saying, maybe why all them young boys done their time in jail and hunger strike for what?
Through the whole country and one's hunger strike and dying and whatever. You know, at the same time, like, you'd probably be thinking, like, they should be United Ireland at this stage. You know.
And I think too that up to the Good Friday Agreement, whatever, there's something I could never stomach. See, decommissioning, I could have put the bolt in that because you can get fucking arms again. But see, when they try and disband an army, nah, you don't do that. That's like dropping your hands to fight. You don't get the face back, did you?
It would just be saying, like, struggle's still going.
What about the conversation if he's here today? Musty, and I'll probably slag and say, he left us at a young age to fight the rest of the fucking war.
But I'd like to say to him, was it worth it? What you don't like? Because I thought, well, I was good for him, good enough for me.
I'd rather he live long enough to see our partners and his grandchildren.
We have memories of him. I feel sorry for the younger ones, like Paul and Snake. You know, they wouldn't have as many memories.
I always wondered, would I ever get the same age?
What about 10 years, 10 years, right?
What would you say then? Well, things have changed since he was here. Things have changed a lot. While he was there, things were great, you know what I mean? But I would just say thanks for the memory, say. That's all I could say.
There was many a sad and silent tear in the village fell today. Even little children cried for the soul that passed away. A soldier friend and comrade, a man of faith and pride, today of Mull Ireland, Neal Lafferty has died. Oh, what a blow for Ireland, what a loss to his border town, to Clady village that he loved and would have laid his life down. But his noble heart stopped beating after 30 years of fight, in which he tried so hard to free this land from England's might. In England's concentration camps for years and months he lay. At the tender age of 16 years, they dragged him from his home. He manly stood up then like his comrades' piercing tone. For justice, faith and fatherland in this land we call our own. For his wife and children we join in prayer today. May the Sacred Heart of Mary guide them on their lonely way. To the golden gates of heaven where a smiling face shall stand, awaiting for to greet them, to hold each well-loved hand. We said farewell to you, Neal, to school days and tender joys, to days of fun and happiness when we were only boys, to pranks with youth and manhood, to the battles we had won, and at last today we say goodbye to Ireland's noble son.